swing and a drive. Right field and deep. Back goes Aquino. It's got a chance. Gone. Get out the tape measure. Long gone.
Fly the W!
Cubs fans, it's time to fly the W with Dustin Rhodes and Paul Crawley-Jean.
All right, season number 4, episode 72. The Cubs get Cabrera and Bregman. You're listening to the Fly the W podcast. We're proud to be part of the Blue Wire Network. Don't forget to listen, download, subscribe. Most importantly, review the podcast. Follow on all the socials. I'm with Mully and Haw on X.
And you can follow me at Crawley's Cubs on X. I'm on Blue Sky, TikTok, Crawley's Clubhouse on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Threads. You can email us at crawleysclubhouse@gmail.com. Boy, Dustin, what a weekend for Chicago sports fans, right?
It may have been the greatest Saturday in the history of Chicago sports. I wish Les Grobstein was still with us so that I could pick his brain and or debate him, Crawley, because not only did we have the Cubs trading for Edward Cabrera middle of last week, this weekend, as the Bears were taking on the Packers and getting their rear ends kicked, Jed Hoyer pulled off a shocker, and he signed free agent third baseman Alex Bregman to the Cubs roster.
I mean, what a stunner. And I'm going to go this route, Dustin. I am going to say that Alex Bregman should have gotten a game ball from Coach Ben Johnson. I'm going to say Alex Bregman deserved a game ball, good, better, best. Take a look at, someone put this on social media. I'm sorry, I don't know who. I'm not trying to steal it. At 8:33, the Bears trailed the Packers 21-3. At 8:33, 9:36, the news breaks that the Cubs sign Alex Bregman. 10:35, the Bears beat the Packers 31-27. Give that man a game ball, Dustin. That's all I got.
That's a hell of a timeline. That is a hell of a timeline. I watched the Bears game in like 3 different chunks, consumed it in 3 different places, and my final destination, the Spring Inn. And when I got there, it was right at the start of the 4th quarter. And as you can imagine, the mood was very down. And all of a sudden, I'm still looking at my phone, seeing everybody bitch and moan about the Bears. And where do you think all of a sudden I get a text from John Heyman? Not a Twitter, a text from John Heyman saying, hey, the Cubs just signed Bregman. I'm like, no way. Started checking social. It's all over the place. Tapped a couple guys on the shoulder, then the bar that I know are big Cub fans. So like, get out of town. And then the Cubs rallied, and it was, whoo, what a night. Blackhawks and Bulls, Crawley, also winners.
Yeah, this is, just talking about Les. I mean, definitely he would be able to kind of see if there's a comp or something similar.
I'm thinking, I was talking to Cisco Cotto about this, News Radio 780 WBBM, and I said, maybe, I'd have to look it up, maybe the Bulls clinched or had a very impactful NBA Finals game in June, and the Cubs had like a walk-off against the Cardinals, right? That would be maybe kind of sort of similar. Not exactly the same, but, maybe the Blackhawks, clinched one of their Stanley Cups, or the parade date, and the Cubs had a walk-off, or the Sox had a walk-off. No, probably not. They were probably walked off. But you know what I'm saying.
Right. It's definitely one for the books. But, Dustin, there's now a whole bunch of questions, and they're not necessarily good questions, bad questions, but just a lot of questions. But let's take a look, though, first at what the Cubs got in Alex Bregman. And you know how bad the Cubs tried to get Alex Bregman for the 2025 season. And you wonder, boy, what would have happened, right? If they would have had him last season. Last year for Boston, Bregman was 273, 360, 462 slash line, 18 home runs, 28 doubles, and 62 RBIs. Now, he did have a quadricep injury that kind of hurt him in May, but he did make another all-star game. But when you're taking a look at Alex Bregman and you just kind of ask yourself, well, okay, what does this guy bring to the table? Why did they want him so bad? Dustin, the red is good when we're taking a look here at Baseball Savant as far as batting is concerned. He is somebody that doesn't chase a lot of pitches. He doesn't strike out a lot. He takes his walks. He gives you good professional at bats. And he is somebody that's been a Gold Glover. He is somebody that, so much leadership. Doesn't matter if you're talking about Boston or Houston or wherever. And I can tell you, I never heard that about Kyle Tucker. And I think Kyle Tucker is a better hitter, especially when you talk about the power numbers. But when you talk about all around what this guy is going to bring to this team, I think that this is a difference maker right here. This is his 2025 hit spray chart.
I love these things. I think these are so cool.
Yeah. And I think it's really going to be, I think the people in the left field bleachers, shout out to Bleacher Jeff and My Tai Guy and all those guys, I think they're going to have a field day with Alex Bregman. I think the home runs are going to be plopping into left field. And so I was there watching the game at Club 400. My guy Mason Watts is watching. He was with me while we were watching the Bears and kind of getting pumped up. And I was at Club 400 having a great old time with everybody.
Wait. Hold on. This might be the breaking news of the whole damn program, Crowley. You were watching the Bears game?
Yeah.
You weren't like grinding. You weren't like grinding over like a 2024 Cubs Cardinals or Cubs Brewers game.
Nope. I was at Club 400. We had the game on. We had a blast. Good people.
Good news.
So if you look here, Mason's watching, and his dad, Bill Watts, is from Fly the Woods. We talked about the Dawson sign.
Yeah.
He also made the light up 670 sign. That is the entrance there.
It's very, very nice. It's very
just
nice.
Quality work. And so, it was just really surprising. And so when you talk about the contract and you talk about kind of some of the numbers that are going through here, 5-year, $175 million. It has no opt-outs and a full no trade clause. So no opt-outs, no full trade. So this is the guy you're going to see. He's going to turn 32 in the spring. And so you're going to see him till what, age 37, age 38. And so
it's all about the first 2 years, right? It's all about the first 2 years. First 2 years, you like to say that. The other part, Crowley, according to Ken Rosenthal, $70 million deferred.
That's the interesting part, because I think that I don't know what Jed. Now my questions for Cubs Con are all over the place. It's completely scratched. That's why you sit there and you workshop these things. But
Reboot.
I have a feeling Jed had to have said something. Otherwise, there's no reason you don't do this deal last year.
Right. Well, okay. I mean, what the deferral does at the moment, it keeps them under that luxury tax, which we know is something that they like to not do, is be over the luxury tax.
Well, I think they are going to be over, my guess, this year. They aren't currently, unless something happens, which we'll talk about.
He could keep deferring, right? They could defer. They could defer.
The shocking thing, though, about this deal, it is right now, like you said, the deferral to me is the most shocking thing about the deal. But when you take a look at it, it is the third biggest contract in Cubs history. So Alex Bregman, 175, Dansby slightly ahead of him with 177, and then everyone's favorite, Jason Hayward, $184 million.
And when you look at that, Crowley, hold on. When you look at that, this is a great graphic, by the way. Well done. Assuming
Marquee, that's Marquee.
Marquee made it. Okay, good for Marquee. It's an excellent graphic. Send that to me, will you? I'd like to take a look at it. Anyway, my point is that 184, that's probably like $200 million in today's dollars.
Yeah.
Right?
It'd be interesting to see what it would be worth in today's dollars. And as you're kind of taking a look at this, the difference though is with this contract, Alex Bregman will get the highest AAV that the Cubs have ever given.
Okay.
So that's going to be $35 million he's going to make per year. Now there are deferrals, like you said, and stuff like that, but that is the largest when it comes to that. So 70 million of the contract is going to be deferred. And that right now allows them to be very slightly by like eyelashes under the first CBT, which is $244 million. But Dustin, what I love about this guy is he is a competitor everywhere. I don't even know the last time he didn't make a postseason. He made the postseason with the Red Sox
it was like
last
in
year.
7. Did I read 7 straight ALCSs?
Yeah,
7 straight ALCSs. You know what this is? Since we talked a little Cubs, Crowley. Okay, talked a little Cubs earlier. He's like Joe Tooney. You know who Joe Tooney is?
I know who Joe Tooney is. Yeah.
Okay, like he has been to the AFC Championship game before he moved over to the NFC. Now, obviously, I think 9 consecutive years his team won the division. Think about that.
Yeah,
9 years in a row. So you sign a winner, bringing a winning culture into that clubhouse. Pretty cool.
100%. My guy Jonathan Evans said that speech from Jason Haywood was worth every $184 million. Smiley emoji. But yeah, it's absolutely it is just so excited, and now that it just shakes everything up. Ask on the we talked last time when we were talking about Edward Cabrera. Okay, you got to get. And we talked about names that you were throwing up there. Alex Bregman, about with the Yankees, Cody Bellinger, and then potentially Kyle Tucker. And this now puts the pressure on the other big market teams. And the thing I love about this is I'm trying to think, do you remember a move by Jed this aggressive? Like this was as far as free agent signings. Let me clarify, because the move with Kyle Tucker last year was big, but I'm talking about free agent signings. This to me
was saying Jed, right? You're saying Jed.
Jed.
Yeah. I mean, Theo, I think Theo and Jed, but Jed by himself. No, this is the biggest one.
And so I take a look at this
he did okay. I actually think like this is a pretty good deal. I thought Bregman might get more than that.
We talked about it before, Dustin, about this is what ESPN had up from the projections, and the projection for Bregman was 5 years, 170. And it's roughly about that. 5 years, 175. It's 5 million off. What's 5 million between friends, right? But that was basically what they called. So it's not like he got fleeced.
No.
But the interesting thing to me right now, especially when I kind of think about everything that has happened so far, is the way that Boston may have misplayed their hand. And this is from Buster Olney. And he said the Red Sox believe they were going to land Bregman with their 5-year, $165 million offer, including his 25 deal. So they're kind of kicking that in. They would have paid him $205 over 6 years with deferrals. Real disappointment in the organization today. Now, former Southside catcher, A.J. Pierzynski, a.k.a. the guy that got punched by Michael Barrett, he was on MLB Network today, and this is what he had to say.
They made an offer to Alex Bregman early in the offseason and said, here it is. And his camp kept going back saying, that's not our market. Our market's higher than that. And it made Alex a little bit mad, and they would not move. So then the Red Sox were like, okay, well, take it or leave it. And they will not budge. Then Bregman's camp with Boris goes back to him and says, hey, we have a higher offer, and we're going to probably take it. And the Red Sox were like, we don't believe you. If you can do it, do it. And then they said, okay, well, we're going to sign. We're not telling you the number. We're going to sign with a different team. And that's when the Red Sox went to this 165. But Bregman was already 1 mad, and 2 had a higher offer. And the longer, the more they tried to stretch it out, the longer and farther down the road the deferrals got. So Bregman's like, I'm getting more money in a shorter amount of time. I'm going to the Cubs.
What does he owe the Red Sox?
Nothing. That's what I'm saying. But the Red Sox literally would not move and would not budge and really wouldn't negotiate until it was almost, well, it wasn't almost too late. It was too late.
Wow. So, this is, again, Dustin, I know there's a lot of people, trust me, I remember being a kid in 1990 and watching, 1991, 92, watching Greg Maddux go to the Braves, and my heart was broken. I mean, I understand why people don't like it, but he's the best at what he does for a reason. And I know you had some concerns that maybe he didn't want to play for the Cubs.
And I didn't know if that was gamesmanship, right? If that was like trying to, they're an option, but I really, it's only like last resort.
To me, I feel like Bregman is one of those guys, like when you think about, and I hate to compare him to Kyle Tucker, but he's his teammate. He was a guy that was here last year. Kyle Tucker is, to me, one of those guys that not interested really in talking to the media that much. Just kind of, goes in, lunch pail guy, does his job, all this stuff. Alex Bregman, and we got CubsCon coming up this week with John Lackey returning. And I think of like Bregman is kind of being a little bit of a red ass. You know what I mean? I think he is somebody that has a little bit of fire in him. And especially when you think about Craig Counsell, to me, he's not a fiery type of guy, right? You know, he's not that. I don't think of Dansby as being really fiery. You know what I mean? To me, I think what you have in Bregman is a leader, but also a guy that's fiery and will have a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. And I like that coming into the clubhouse. I like a guy who's got a little bit of an attitude. And I hope that, you know, you and I both remember how pissed off, and every Cub fan remembers how pissed off we were with the way that the Brewers celebrated after beating the Cubs with the W flag and all that stuff and this and that. I hope
the L flag, right? Yeah.
Right. I think that in all honesty, I truly think that he's going to be a guy that's really going to try to. I hope he fires this team up, and I think they get a little bit more chippy. Wilson Contreras was like that too. You know what I mean? Like a guy that will get chippy and get under the skin of other players. I think that's great, and I think right now, you know, this team with Alex Bregman, I mean, it's what the Cubs really needed. And so now, Dustin, we got to take a look at potential lineups. How does this look for you? Michael Busch leading off, playing left field. Nico Horner batting second. Ian Happ third. Yeah. Alex Bregman fourth. PCA fifth. Seiya Suzuki batting sixth. Moises seventh. Carson Kelly eighth. Dansby Swanson nine. Now, this is just from this was MLB Fox put this up.
Yep.
I don't know if I agree with it.
Well, I mean, which part don't you like or agree with?
I'm a little,
where PCA is PCA.
Yeah, PCA kind of has me a little bit nervous there. I would move
too high.
Too high.
But I'd bat him before I bat Moises, wouldn't you?
Yes, I would. I would definitely flip.
Just maybe just flip him and Seiya.
Right. Oh, you know, or the other thing I might, you know, I know they like doing the righty lefty stuff. One thing I guess I would potentially do. I don't know if I like Ian Happ.
The three
batting three that much as I might
even move Bregman to third, Suzuki to fourth, and Happ to fifth.
Yeah, some sort of combination like that. I think that would be better to me. I mean, I think when you talk about the national guys, they think of Ian Happ as this, you know, I think you and I both know that, you know, he's a good hitter, but I don't know if I would want him batting third. It's for me, Seiya, again, I said it last year and I'm going to say it again this year. I think Seiya is going to be a key part to this offense. He's got to be able to play a full year. He can't just disappear like he did in the second half last year. And then he comes back in the postseason and he looks like he was in the first half. I mean, you're going to have lulls in the MLB. You're not going to be going 162, you know, hitting, you know, nonstop. But there has to be some sort of combination where he, you know, he's got to be able to get out of those lulls quicker. You know, maybe you're a little bit cold for a week or two. That happens. I'm not going to get mad at that. But you can't miss a whole damn half of baseball. You got to be there, and I think Seiya has to be there. He has to, you know, he has to make that step. But you know, taking a look kind of right here at everything, we have an interesting comment from one of our listeners. This is Larry Backus says, I think he will be great for the youngsters, and the Cubs do have a lot of young players. When you talk about Michael Busch, when you talk about PCA, when you talk about Moises Ballesteros, when you talk about Miguel Amaya, you got a lot of young players. And the thing that you keep hearing over and over about Alex Bregman is his professionalism, what he brings in, how he expects you to comport yourself, how he expects you to take practices and games, and the professionalism that he brings. And I think that is going to be a key. There's so many intangibles that he brings to the team that when we put up the spray charts or we put up the numbers, you don't see. I think that is, you know, that's going to be a key part. Like you said earlier, he's a winner. Everywhere he goes, they win. And I'm hoping he brings that attitude. And again, Boston's devastated. The front office, the players, they screwed up. They thought they could get him. Again, when you're talking about $5 million, Dano Jones here says, I don't know if Bregman is better than Tucker. Not from here again, one of the things they talk about is the best kind of ability is availability. You know, do you trust Tucker to stay healthy the entire season? Like, yes, if they are both 100% healthy, I think that Tucker is the better hitter. But as far as all aspects of the game, you know, and again, when I talk about the intangibles, that I don't know.
Worst case, Crawley, worst case, this is a lateral move. Worst case, I think. Best case, he outperforms Kyle Tucker because he'll play more games, hopefully, potentially. So worst case, this is if this is the replacement for Kyle Tucker, I think it's a good move. I was worried that the combination of Ballesteros and Owen Casey was going to be the replacement for Kyle Tucker, and this is an upgrade. This is what a big league market team does. This is what a team that has aspirations of playing longer in October than they did the past season do. This is an answer. I'm very happy with it. I'm very happy with it. And again, we talked about it earlier in the podcast. We'll talk about it again. It'll probably be a theme all summer long. You know, let's just worry about the first 2 years, right? Yeah. Don't worry about when he's 35 and 36. Let's worry about 30. Let's worry about 31 to 34. And
again, Dustin, that's where the DH comes in handy. Is again, when you look at Bregman and the type of at-bats he gives you.
Great point.
When you look at the at-bats that he gives you, you know, that the ability to, we even saw with Justin Turner, you know what I mean? We saw that even then, even as old as Justin Turner is, you know, he could still give you professional at-bats. So you can move him to DH eventually, you know, and again, like you said, see where you go with the first half of this deal. That's the question. Now, the question that, you know, Dana Jones here and a couple other people are asking is, are the Cubs done making moves? And Dustin, we're going to talk a little bit about that coming up right here in segment 3.
You're listening to the Fly the W podcast. We are proud to be part of the Blue Wire Network. Don't forget to download, review, 5-star reviews. We'll take those. Email us, Crawley's Clubhouse, gmail.com. Don't forget, you can watch us, as some of you are right now, on Crawley's Clubhouse YouTube page. All right, so the next thing that we got to talk about is the arbitration deadline. This happened this past Thursday, the 8th of January, and there is some news that involves our Cubs.
Yeah, with the additions of Cabrera and Bregman, this team, the Cubs 2026 roster is really starting to come into shape. Remember that in November, they do the non-tender deadline. So you have to offer somebody a contract in November. And, you know, if they don't want you back, then they non-tender you and you're gone. Well, the Cubs exchange figures, you know, they tendered contracts. They had there's, you know, sometimes you have a lot of players that are arbitration eligible and other times you don't. Like the Astros, Dustin, had 13 arbitration eligible players and the Cubs only had 3. So others really don't have that many. So you had the deadline. It was Thursday at noon, and there's a little bit of wiggle room on that when they're getting close. But you had from November till mid-January to kind of figure something out, and then that deadline hits. Now, you don't want to go to arbitration because that's basically when you start insulting your players and telling them why they're not worth what they think they're worth, right? And so I was excited because I kind of looked at some of them. There's 170 arbitration eligible players and all but 18 reached an agreement before the deadline. Now, some interesting names that did not come to an agreement. How about former Cub Isaac Paredes? Could not come to an agreement with the Astros. When you talk about with the Reds had a couple they couldn't come to agree with, Graham Ashcraft and Tyler Stevenson. And how about William Contreras and the Brewers, the Cubs nemesis, William Contreras. The Brewers are notorious for being stingy with their arbitration eligible players. Dustin, in 2023, they took Corbin Burns to arbitration over $750,000. That was the difference that they could not come to an agreement with. And so they go and they take Corbin Burns there and they basically torch him and explain why he's not worth that extra $750,000. And then when it comes time to sign an extension or a contract, he didn't want anything to do with the Brewers. So that's what you just don't want to, you don't want to do it. But the biggest news of that day, Dustin, was reigning 2-time Cy Young Award winner Tariq Skubal at the Tigers, right? He asked for $32 million while the Tigers offered $19 million. And according to Jeff Passan, that 13 million gap is the largest margin in arbitration history. Imagine, again, the Brewers argued over 750,000. This is $13 million. I mean, unbelievable. But if Skubal wins his case, he would get 32 million. That would be the largest in arbitration history, beating Juan Soto's 31 million from the Yankees in 2024. But if you're asking about who on the Cubs was arbitration eligible, our guy Javier Assad, I think he's still going to play a big role as a swingman for this team. How about this one, Dustin? To me, this was big. Justin Steele and the Cubs agreed to $6.775 million. And obviously he's coming back from injury. He's not going to be available right away, but you just don't want the players focusing on this stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a distraction, right? Mm-hmm.
It's a distraction. You don't want them dealing with it. You don't want people being bad. And then finally, Edward Cabrera settles for $4.45 million, Dustin. And that's where we talk about you're getting this guy cheap when you're talking about arbitration.
Well, it's still a nice raise. Don't get me wrong.
Not a bad raise at all, but it's definitely better than paying Tariq Skubal $32 million, right?
Well, that's what he's asking for, right?
Yep, and it's gonna be up there.
Or they offered 19 or something.
It's going to be 19, so it's going to be a big number. All I'm telling you right now, though, is remember last year at this time, the Cubs and Kyle Tucker didn't come to an agreement. Now, once you don't come to an agreement, you have all the way till February, to late January, early February, before you go in front of the arbitrators. But to me, Dustin, I remember that last season being pissed off. It just kind of put a bad taste in your mouth. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, you want to sign this guy, Kyle Tucker, for next year, and you're arguing over money. Like, you know what I mean? Just pay these guys. It's not that much money. So you got Edward Cabrera down. And you know, I think that to me is just like, okay, we got it done. Again, you have him under control for 3 years, but it's the first, other than the trade, the first thing he's not going to remember is a team not wanting to pay him, right? Like, you get that out of the way and you're done. But now, Dustin, this becomes interesting, is that everybody is asking. Dana Jones says, we got to bring back, Cody Bellinger or Tucker, right? These are things that people are asking. Chip Palaos is here. He says they better not trade Nico. So the question here is the luxury tax. We have talked about it on this show. We've known for years the Cubs have operated like that luxury tax, that first-year luxury tax, kind of as a de facto salary cap. And so this is what your guy, Bruce Levine, on This Morning with Mully and Haw, this is what he had to say.
We haven't heard anywhere that the Cubs won't go over the threshold for the luxury tax. They've been chastised. They've been told they need to spend more than other teams do. They need to be in the $300 million area. Right now, they're at about $244 million, but I would say that going over the threshold this year will not be a big problem. Will they go into the area where you're going for a Bellinger or reuniting with a Tucker? No, I don't think they're going that far. But from the perspective of keeping on adding and being able to add in July by the trading deadline, I think this team's all in to win this year. So if you've questioned the Cubs' motives and whether or not they've gone all in, I think this is a year you can't do that.
I hope he's right, because Bruce used the word chastise, which I thought was interesting. And we've talked about it before, whether it's been Rosenthal or your guy, John Heyman or Jeff.
Yeah, Heyman's definitely giving them the business on this one.
Right. And here's the thing, what Bruce said in that clip is that they're roughly $244 million, which is right where the luxury tax is. The first tier is at $244 million for this year. Now, what people are freaking out right now, the Cubs 40-man roster, Dustin, is at 38 once Bregman officially signs. He hasn't officially signed yet. I wonder if they're going to do that at CubsCon. As you know, when we're recording this on Monday, CubsCon's about 5 days away. And
sold out, by the way. CubsCon sold out. Packages
sold out. You should have got your tickets early, folks. I don't know what else I can tell you other than I kind of warned you about that one. But I would say more than anything right now, like when they signed Shodi Managa, they did the I was there. I was at the signing when he put on the jersey for the first time and did the "Hey Chicago, what do you say?" But right now, I think people are kind of worried. And when Chip Paleo says they better not trade Nico, Nico's on the last year of his contract making $11 million. And what, if they're not worried about the luxury tax, Dustin, then we're fine, right? It's not even, then don't get rid of Nico. And I heard you guys talking this morning about last year, how you wanted to keep Cody Bellinger. And I remember you and I talking about this.
Right. You wanted to see how that lineup would have looked, right? I don't want to be earlier, Crawley. You had a great graphic in case people missed it. You had a great graphic of a lineup, as the roster is constructed today. Okay. And we had a little bit of issue with it, right? We gave our thoughts, move this guy up, move this guy down. You're looking at it right now. Okay. Now let's take Nico Horner out of the lineup and add in Shaw. Okay.
Right.
And again, you wouldn't add in Shaw number 2, but all of a sudden Bregman's probably batting second. Seiya Suzuki is batting third. Ian Happ might be batting fourth. See what's happening here? Instead of lengthening the lineup, we are now shortening the lineup again. And now we're back to what happened last year. So again, Bregman is 31, about to turn 32. And so if he ends up on the injured list for a little bit, well, now who's playing third base, right? Because Shaw now is playing second base. And if Shaw can't hit, like he went through a thing last year, what are they doing at second base? Now all of a sudden we're going to move Michael Busch to second base and go try to find, somebody to, occupy first base, if you will, for a little bit. So I don't like that. If you're going for it, then go for it, right? And right now, I feel like as a Cub fan, Crowley, I want to know what you think. I want to know what the people listening think. I feel like they're going for it. But trading Nico Horner, and again, I obviously something's going to come back. But again, you're trading Nico Horner, not because you don't like Nico Horner, but you're shedding salary, for the future is what you're doing. So if you're going for it, go for it.
And people ask, well, what about Matt Shaw and how are you going to play this? Joe Madden had no problem doing it. Remember who your second baseman was in 2016, right? It was Ben Zobrist.
Right.
It was Ben Zobrist. And so when you look at this, Joe found at bats for Javi Baez. Joe found good matchups for Javi Baez. Joe got, when you think about that 2016 team, and again, the Kyle Schwarber injury allowed for some of that to happen because you were able to play Ben Zobrist in left. But these are the problems you want to have, this making sure everybody gets at bats.
Yeah, these are good problems. These are problems like the Bears. Who are you going to get the ball to, right? You got so many supposedly good wide receivers. You got so many options. How can you keep everybody happy? How can you keep everybody in the lineup? These are good problems. You don't want to have to go fishing around the minor leagues trying to bring somebody up.
And trying to catch lightning in the bottle.
Yes, Nico is the best player on the team, especially, Scott, with runners in scoring position. A stat that I'll speak for me, and I think Crowley will agree, we are sick of talking about how bad the Cubs are with runners in scoring position, and now you're potentially trading away the guy who's best at that stat.
Scott's a good friend of mine. Him and I were actually sitting at Club 400 at the bar next to each other while this all went down. And Scott knows a thing or two about baseball, I'm just going to say. And what does that tell Alex Bregman? We talked about he's a little bit of a red ass. Imagine if all of a sudden, this right now, and Chip Paleo says this is one of the best teams defensively in baseball. Don't make yourself worse. Like this is literally one of the best teams. Last year, the Cubs were number 2 in defensive runs saved. We talked about it. Their defense was the calling card of this team. And now you have just a phenomenal defense, infield, outfield, you don't want to do anything to screw this up, especially when you're talking about a big market club, And so when I'm kind of looking at this right here, Dustin, and I'm looking at what's going on, I'm not going to sit here and try to get this for, whatever money. That's just going to be ridiculous. So for me personally, I say you just got to sit there and keep this defense like it is. And just, you got the pitching staff that you need. Let the defense be behind you. That's going to be phenomenal.
Well, nothing makes a starting pitcher happier than a good defense behind him, right? Nobody can help a bad offense more than a defense that's playing, way above average and keeping the runs down per game. So yeah, don't screw this up now. Don't ruin the excitement of this.
Hello, can you hear me?
I hear you. Yep. I can hear you. Yes, I can. You can't hear me now?
But to me, there really is no purpose of getting rid of Nico when you have this defense you've been looking for, when you have the pitching staff that you've been waiting for. This is what you're looking at. And to me, this is where it's going to be so much better. Now, as far as the money is concerned, that's where I'm starting, that shouldn't be anything to worry about. Again, I don't think they're going to get somebody big. They're not going to get one of those guys like Bellinger. They're not going to get Tucker. And Dan was saying, what's the point of bringing in Tucker for 1 year if we weren't going to keep him? You didn't know you were going to keep him. You didn't know the scenario. I mean, honestly, are we really that upset about Isaac Paredes or Hayden Wisniewski? With Cam Smith, the jury is out, but you go for it. And I think that was I had no problem with the deal. I think more when I think about it, I wish that they just would have done the same Bregman deal last year. I would have loved to have this deal last year. That's the mistake. Not that we made the deal for Tucker. It's that if and again, Tom Ricketts is going to be at Cubs Con. He's not doing a session. He's doing the have a beer with Tom, which there's going to be a lot of people patting him on the back for what happened this offseason. But I wish it would have happened last year. I think that would have made a huge difference last year, but I don't know. I'm excited about the direction of this team. I feel like, they're still going to make moves, and I think they are going to go over the luxury tax. And going over the luxury tax, especially just one time, is not a big deal. Where you get nailed on the luxury tax is if you are a repeat habitual offender.
Right.
Remember,
right. And Crowley, you got to feel better today as a Cub fan than you did 2 weeks ago. We were in limbo.
100%.
We were in limbo. We were absolutely 100%. In limbo. Didn't know the direction. Now we know the direction. The direction is all in. Now, what will steer me off that path is if something were to happen with Nico Horn.
Right. Now, I agree. And if you take a look here, it starts at $244 million for that first tier. So, you still have some room to add players. Things are going to happen. You're going to have to add at the deadline, etc. It's not like that. It's just not going to be a massive deal. But, I'm really hoping Edward Cabrera and Alex Bregman are at Cubs convention. I'd love for them to be part of witnessing this because, Dustin, this is going to be one for the ages when they call that 2016 team out. If you are someone like Alex Bregman, and it's not like he hasn't paid for passionate fan bases. Houston's a passionate fan base, fourth biggest market. We know how big of a fan base Boston is, but I think it's going to be fun because I don't think anyone does fan conventions like the Cubs. I think Cubs fans were fired, especially after this last week. And then now you got the Bears game coming on Sunday night. So we get to come home from CubsCon and watch the Bears game. I think Cub fans are just going to be elated. I think this is going to be a wonderful moment. And I would love for Cabrera and Bregman to be a part of it, to meet their new teammates. I'd love to see Bregman and Cabrera put on the jerseys for the first time at Cubs convention. This is truly going to be fantastic. And I hope a lot of people are going to be there.
Well, it would be a major disappointment if they weren't there, Crowley, right? It would be a major disappointment if both guys were not at CubsCon, at least for Friday night when they introduce everybody to kind of do that red carpet thing. That would be a massive, massive disappointment. But hey, listen, it's the great start of a very busy Chicago Sports Week. Crowley and I are going to be back with you on Wednesday, really get into the nuts and bolts of CubsCon. Crowley will relish you with stories from the past. And he'll give you all the info on where and when you might run into him. So, Crowley, that is a wrap. Don't forget to listen, download, review, and subscribe to the Fly the W podcast. You can email us your thoughts or any questions, Crowley'sClubhouse@gmail.com. Ask Crowley for some CubsCon advice. And you can watch us by subscribing to the Crawley's Clubhouse YouTube page. Crawley, let's talk again on Wednesday before you head on downtown.
Yep, I'll be leaving on Thursday. We're going to have plenty of stuff. We're going to have an action-packed show coming up that's going to be dropping right before CubsCon. And Richie OG, he's Mr. Worldwide. He's going to be at CubsCon for sure. He says, hell yeah, about getting Bregman on that red carpet. It is going to be wild. And Jed is now cooking. CubsCon right around the corner. The 2016 team is back. Thank you guys for watching, and go Cubs.
It's all over.